Welcome to another Pint with Seaniebee. This is probably the Pint with Seaniebee that was supposed to be all of them. I am actually in a Dublin pub with a pint with my guest who's also got a pint in him. So you're going to hear pub background noises, and we're probably going to have to move halfway through this interview to another famous Dublin landmark pub to complete the interview. So this is a genuine Pint with Seaniebee pub crawl. I have an amazing guest today, a guy I've known for 30 years or so. He is one of Ireland's most enduring, hardest working singer-songwriters. He's also a producer, he's a DJ, and he's an all-round guy who's been at the heart of everything music in Dublin for the past 3 decades. And I'm welcoming to the podcast the very great, the one and only, Gavin Glass.
The notorious Seaniebee.
Gavin is about to launch his 5th studio album called Opus Pocus.
That's right.
Name come from where?
The pointless struggle to create this perfect piece of art.
Right.
That it's all...
Have you done it?
No. No, because there is no such thing. There is no such thing. But the journey and the adventure of trying to get there. But this record, out of all the other ones, I kind of had a confidence and a swagger I've never had before going into a recording that I just didn't give a fuck. Am I allowed to curse?
Yeah, of course, it's a podcast.
Okay. I just really didn't care what other people thought of it, which I think a lot of artists, they go through this phase. Sometimes they're not being true to themselves and what they're creating. They're creating music for their friends and for their peers and other people that are in bands.
You've talked a lot about this because of your job as a producer recently. You're not only the singer-songwriter who's producing an album, you're also producing your own work, and ergo it's hard to go, when is it actually finished, right?
When I'm producing somebody else's music, it's very easy for me to view it, have the aerial view and look down in the helicopter and go, right, this song is a mess.
Yeah.
Here's what we're going to have to do. But when it's your own thing, it can be very hard to see the wood from the trees. Right. I've made so many records with different people that I know when it's done. I know when you're overcooking the stew or over-egging the pudding or whatever cliche you want to use.
So Gavin runs a company called Orphan Records. He's also going to play some of the tunes from his new album, which we're getting a scoop here on the Pint with Seaniebee.
World exclusive. Nobody else has heard these tunes yet, bar my best mate.
So the album will be released, I guess, sometime next month?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It's literally in the mastering suite at the moment, so it should be back tomorrow morning. We're celebrating it actually. We're at Pints to clinky, Opus Pocus. We're wetting the baby's head.
We're wearing the baby's head. Gavin and I have similar backgrounds. We grew up in South County Dublin. I've got a few more laps around the sun than he has. We grew up in 8 more. So
8 more laps.
Just to be clear. We grew up in I guess a reasonably privileged environment.
Definitely the non-dusty end of middle class.
Yeah. And with it, not a cakewalk either. But I guess looking back from this juncture in your 40s, early 40s, what little gems or insights have you got about what it was like growing up in South County Dublin?
In the 80s, it was a little bit like the Wild West in these big estates. The kids were just allowed out on their bikes, not to talk to strangers, and if a man in a trench coat comes up to you in the park, run. And you were just left to it, and you get diarrhea from eating, apples at Robin Orchards.
Cooking apples.
Yeah, you were eating cooking apples that had worms in them, and you thought, these are delicious, lads. And you'd go every day on your bikes, you would ride to do you want to go and see the dead cat? Yeah. Of course I do. My childhood was like...
We talked just before we came on about just this whole idea of kids being corralled into the best choices their parents could make for them, usually based around their academic aptitude, which is not so great if you want to be an artist.
No.
And you had a bit of this when you were... your father's a very famous car salesman, right?
Back in the day he was, yeah. I think my parents came from very working class backgrounds. Like there was 12 kids on my dad's side in a 2-bed council house in Kimmage. So I think they just wanted the best for me growing up. They wanted security, and to them security was a house and a mortgage. Art and music and that kind of thing just wasn't. It was just a thing I was going through. As much as my folks bought me a guitar and all of that, it was never a career. And I knew that's what I wanted to do when I was 15.
Yeah.
And then when you try and live a life, you know, and I was an obedient, I was a good kid, I was athletic, I was straight C's, you know, maybe a B, but you know, I left school at 18, went to college, and was drinking flagons of cider from day one.
Yeah.
I got locked for the first 3 months. I was miserable, crying every day, and
This
so
was
eventually
UCD, was it?
I was doing arts a minute. I'd missed UCD by 5 points or something. So I was working in Eddie Rockets. It was fucking terrible. Probably finished there at 3, and I'd have to get up at 6 then to get a dart, and then a bus, and then a train out to Maynooth every day. When I was signing on, they said, like, what subjects do you want to do? And I was like, psychology, music.
Yeah, no idea.
Blah, blah. And they just said, we don't do any of those subjects. So it was like,
Farming.
what do you got? Yeah, it was like, well, we have study to be a priest or geography.
Yeah.
Or
Famous for
the
priest
priest,
tuition.
yeah,
and also Eddie Rocket's an old sort of Dublin version of an American diner that is a famous late night carbohydrate reload after for drunks who are now drinking messy. Yeah. Where was your music? Where did that come from?
My earliest memory is I Don't Like Mondays by the Boomtown Rats, and I was probably only 2, but I just used to lose
You could always break into my Bob Geldof here if you'd like and say that we asked Johnny Fingers to play a certain type of piano at the start that really got it going. Sorry.
Yeah, that is. But that piano, that swirl down the piano,
Yeah.
that was the sound of magic, and
Yeah.
you know, to me. And then Blondie used to, apparently when I was 2 or 3, I used to go to the TV and kiss Blondie and say,
Parallel
"Mommy,
lines
my
album.
tweenie feels funny." But no, music was always there, and it was, you know, remember those old organs they used to have in some parlour?
Hammond organ.
Yeah, we had a lot of friends that had bars in their houses.
Yeah.
You know, they were all kind of car salesmen, Boise kind of characters, and you know, Marlene playing the organ. But they had these, like I remember 5 and 6 and seeing organs or pianos in people's houses, and I was just so drawn to it. And there would always be music, sing-songs happening in our house, and I always was just drawn to the guy who had the guitar. That he was
focal point.
He was, you know, my dad was a great cantor, a great singer, a great storyteller, and a total clown, or just really whole court. I would see him doing that, and then the guy with the guitar, and that's when I was about 12. I remember being in the bath and hearing "Sweet Child of Mine" come on, and literally it was just like getting hit with a cattle prod. And then "Stairway to Heaven" came on straight after. And it was just, my mind is melting. What is this? From then it was just guitars, good guitars. I just used to draw guitars in my copybooks, and I was just.
When did you get your first one?
When I was 12, that
Did you
Christmas.
self-teach or did you go?
Yeah, it was. I went to lessons, but they were teaching me, you know, on the banks of the Ohio, songs I'd never fucking heard. So it was all kind of self-taught. I mean, back then there was no internet, so if you wanted to learn how to play the intro of "Stairway to Heaven," you had to get in the bus to Fingers, to some lad who lived with his man, who had a Marshall stack in the kitchen. For £5 he'd show you how to play "Stairway to Heaven," and like that's. I mean, I remember having
You had to go buy sheet music or something.
and which I didn't know how to read. I still don't know how to read the
Do you
dots.
not?
No, I don't. No, I never learned. But yeah, no, music.
It's astonishing when you look back though on, you know, cassette tapes and pressing record for the DJ and hoping he doesn't interrupt you at the end to get your mixtape and.
But music back then was an asset. It was like it was a tangible asset that you held, and it was so precious to you. And the music you were into was who you were. It was your identity. We had Cure heads. You were a rocker. You were a raver. You were a mod. You were a ska head.
It was an identity.
You know, but now it's
Beatles or Rolling Stones.
Exactly. Yeah, Beatles and Stones, and you know.
Which were you?
And I like both. I was
You're the exception that proves the rule.
Yeah.
I was Beatles all the way.
Yeah, no, I know, but I mean, like some people, like a buddy of mine, he's in a punk band, and like I remember saying to me one time, he said, "Who do you like, the Beatles or the Stones?" And I was like, "I like them both." He was like, "I can't fucking possibly take you seriously now as a record producer. It's either." But that's how important it was.
You couldn't say that you like the Jam or you know the Cure. You like both of them.
What do you mean the fucking Jam? They're just a rip off the Who. You know. But now I think kids, they just. You know, it's instant gratification, and everything is just cherry picked from. It's pick and mix of everything.
What sort of a guitarist were you by the time you sort of finished school? Were you handy, or were you?
Yeah, I definitely wasn't as good as I thought I was.
Like, when did you write your first song? Do you remember?
As soon as I was playing,
Okay.
I had like, well, I wasn't a songwriter. I was always just wanted to be. I wanted to be a guitar god. I wanted to be like Slash or Eric Clapton, or I just wanted to be a guitar player primarily. That's all I wanted to be. But when I quit college, I joined this band. They had a couple of singles out that were doing well on radio, but they had dozens of gigs. So I literally, first summer out of school, I was away every weekend, seeing Ireland, which I'd never seen.
Brilliant.
In the back of a Datsun Cherry,
okay.
you know, with like microphones at the back of your head. If the car broke, a fucking Marshall cab would hit you in the back of the head.
How long did that last for?
I think a year. I was with them for a year, and then I joined a band called Roach, who had just signed a publishing deal. They were kind of doing well, and then that just melted down. They lost the record deal, and there was loads of personal problems with the band. And then we got back together a couple of years later. We were a band called Gramophone, got signed straight away. We got offered a deal.
What year was this now?
This is about 1998. We got back together again. And then by 99 we were signed. We had some connection. There was no kind of internet there we could fucking read.
You were reliant on A&R men coming to gigs and stuff.
Exactly. And we just knew some guy who said, there's a label I know in Germany, sent him tape, and then 3 months, 4 months later we were over in Germany living there we were there for about 9 months making this record, which was a total tax write-off. Money laundering, yeah.
They weren't your Hamburg years.
No, they wouldn't let us go out and gig.
Really?
Yeah, there was all these, like, you know, every day we turn up, there's like new amps there for me and.
But
crazy.
did you feel like you were about to break it?
Totally.
Yeah.
Like, when the album was finished, it was like, okay, you boys need a bit of a rest now. We're going to send you down to Monaco, and we're going to fly the girlfriends over for a 2-week holiday around Saint-Tropez and Nice. And so, yeah, we thought it was all going to be fucking blowjobs and cocaine and limousine.
What happened?
The money ran out. It was some newspaper tycoon who was dating this young Italian girl who and she wanted a band. She wanted a record label to run, and then he went through this, like, the biggest divorce before Paul McCartney split Woody Mountbatten.
Yeah.
It was just a sham. So we came back. That was my first kind of realization of how fucked up the business is, and how easy it is to just step on somebody's dreams, and that there's nasty people in the world.
Yeah.
This, you know, from being over there for a year, I used to sleep in the studio and I was watching the guys how they recorded, and so I sort of taught myself how to record music and produce, and but I also loved it. I was good at it, and I was like always able to kind of dissect a song, how to make it gel,
and this is all ear.
I don't know. Can I be a little cliche? Like,
sure.
It's hard. People say we only use 10% of our brains. I think it's only 10% of our hearts we use. It's guts and it's instinct. Yeah. Music is emotion. Like, I had a child a year and a half ago, and the only way I could communicate with her when she was first born was through music, because that was I could feel the connection with her. And to this day, she's like. Anyway, yeah.
Your daughter is Emmy May. Hello, Emmy May, if you're listening to this in the future. We're starting to get a bit full in here, so we might
There's a band
make
about
this
as
chapter 1 of our Pub Crawl podcast, and I'm going to finish this chapter with a song from Opus Pocus, Gavin Glass's new album. Why don't you introduce the song and what it's about?
What are we going to play?
Well, I was thinking we should play Horseshoe Tattoo.
Horseshoe Tattoo is about falling in love, realization, and kind of, you know, a lot of the Opus Pocus thing is that existential thing that happens to people when they start their early 30s, mid 30s. Just opening, I know, so man, I can't believe this I'm going to say this, but it's about opening your heart to love and compromise, what we talked about a little bit later. There's definitely about compromise
Join us in part 2, where we're going to talk about the 30-something issue and love and all that stuff. But before that, a song from Gavin Glass's new album Opus Pocus called Horseshoe Tattoo. Enjoy.
Days get away from
Okay, so that was Horseshoe Tattoo, a song from Gavin Glass's upcoming album Opus Pocus. We've moved venues. We moved from the rather depressing but about to have a jazz night Leeson Lounge in next door to a very famous old pub, a pub that's been big in my life growing up, and indeed Gav's as well. Gav is the artist in residence here. It's O'Brien's on Leeson Street. Were you playing yesterday?
Yes.
Gav plays every Sunday night for the last 12 years. In fact, his fourth album was called Sunday Songs.
It was totally connected to here.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a second. So we were talking just about just to talk about some of Gav's music. That song. Who was the bird with the horseshoe tattoo, by the way? If you can tell.
Yes, the young Amy Catherine Walsh.
Right.
Who is my fiancée.
When do you get married?
I don't know, we're fucking trying to save for Gaff. It would kind of
in many ways, we never get out of the trap.
Yeah, we're doing it on one salary. Her salary pays for the childminder for the days she works, and then...
And it's partly due to the...
When you're self-employed and trying to run a business, and you're paying rates for places, you're paying rent, and... The recording studio that I run is all kind of very much old school analog technology and a dead art pretty much. So to maintain that stuff is all really expensive. And
we'll talk a little bit of Orphan Records, which is Gav's other string to his bow. It's a very in demand recording studio in Dublin at the moment. I'm not a music writer or a Dave Fanning or any of those guys, but I spent a lot of today listening to a lot of your music, and I was gifted by Gavin in 2004 a copy of his first album, I'd Like to Teach the World to Sing, which...
I'd like the world to teach me
I'd like the world to teach you to sing. I was gifted...
I'd like to teach myself to introduce yourself to myself.
Do that again.
Leave it in.
Okay, leave it in. Fuck it. And I loved it. It was a beautiful album. I loved the song "Skinny Girlfriend" on it, and it was an album that you made in your garage, in the truest sense of the word. Where you recorded every instrument, you mixed it together. Tell me about why you ended up doing that after the thing you spoke about with Gramophone and all this stuff over in Germany.
Well, that band had kind of folded when we lost our deal. Everyone kind of went away and licked their wounds, but I still just, that's all, from having the taste of this is the life that is for me. I had been happier. I had terrible eczema. It all just went away as soon as I went over there, and I wasn't ready to give up. I was only 23 at that stage, and the other lads were kind of in their kind of 30s, early 30s. Shit business, creme brulee. That is what's the name of the show again? Royce and Vasey.
League of Gentlemen. Fantastic. One of my favourite shows.
Yeah, amazing. There is a Swansea. Anyway.
Lines and lines and lines. So you did lines and lines and lines.
Yes. From being over there, I was learning how to use the equipment. They kind of copped that I was the main songwriter in terms of the music and all that, and the other guy, Brian Roach, he was writing the lyrics, and they set me up with my own little studio that I could sleep. They were saying, if you want to sleep there and work for 24 hours a day, you can. Just produce the song.
Don't let us stop you.
Exactly. But it was purely so I would just give them music that they could sell out for ads. And it turned out our music was used in German people covered our
German
music.
Ads.
Shit German
ads. This is
our
Venn diagram. Put your mates in the middle. Fuck it. We don't need to pay anything.
Anyway, we lost on that. So anyway, I was buying gear and slowly building up my own little home record setup. Did the first album there, which everybody disses their older work, and that first album, I find it hard. I find it very hard to listen to. I don't sound like, we're like two different singers there. I had never sang before, and I was kind of 27, 28 when I started making that record, and super insecure about my voice.
But it got a good reception.
It did, yeah. Like you mentioned, Dave Fanning, he was a big champion of it, and people like that. But I was still selling insurance at the time, and very conflicted. When I started getting that little bit of recognition and that, I just kind of decided that, you know what, I'm a big boy now, I have to shit or get off the pot and go full time. And it meant killing my old life, burying who I was before.
But when you had it done and it got a good reception, that must have been...
But that just made me want to do it more. Yeah. It just gave me a validation that...
Your flaws are flaws looking back.
Yeah, for sure. And you know, we were talking earlier about, like, you look at artists like Neil Young and Bruce Springsteen, and their first couple of albums are pretty ropey, you know, fairly ropey. And back then, labels had the money and the belief and the patience to let an artist develop and make the shit records, and then go, what we know by the second or third album, they've had life experiences and they've been able to have an aerial view of themselves. But that's all gone now. Like, I'm on album 5. From the first album, the Holy Shakers album came out, and that got even a better reception than the first one.
So that album is called Gavin Glass and the Holy Shakers.
Yeah.
Who were the Holy Shakers? Are they still around?
From time to time I'll play with different members, but the bass player is still there, but the band has changed 5 or 6 times over. I'll have 2 or 3 guys that will all be able to, 2 or 3 different bass players I'll be able to sit in, or 2 or 3 different drummers. And after the whole Germany thing, and back then we were into Radiohead, and the label wanted us to be the Manic Street Preachers, which we weren't. They wanted kind of rock pop stuff.
But it was a great time. I mean, OK Computer came out around then.
Yeah, for sure. I remember, you know,
there was some amazing fucking music out there.
Totally, I mean, that was a golden age when those records. Oasis had happened, and Britpop had exploded. After kind of licking my wounds and all of that, I got really into kind of old American folk music and Americana, and this documentary came on, and it was just like, it was exactly what it took me out of this depression that, like, you had the record deal, you lost it, and now you're back home, you can't pay the fucking rent, you're hoovering cornflakes off your chest because you've been watching Judge Judy reruns all day and feeling sorry for yourself. This thing came on about, you know, these guys from Canada that just went into the woods in Woodstock and just shut themselves off from the world and bought tape recorders and figured out how to use them. And they were Bob Dylan's backing band, for any listeners that aren't hip to them. But that just inspired me to go, like, do you know what? I wanted to hear wood in music, and I wanted to hear air, and I was always drawn to this, like, the twangier stuff. And my dad was mad into Willie Nelson and into Johnny Cash. So there was a nostalgia thing that like, when I'd heard that, brought me back to childhood and that.
Did you self-produce the second album? All of your albums. Okay, so the second album was in 2007. You have been called the Godfather, just to take up on what you were just saying of Americana. We do this in Ireland.
There's so much Irish musicians that were doing that kind of music. And when you break it down, like, American folk music is pretty much Scottish and Irish and a little bit of French and a bit Cajun, mixed with gospel and blues. I've always just had, for whatever it is, it's just in my blood. It's always just stirred me up.
So that brings us nicely to Minor Birds, right? Which was 2010. You recorded that in Nashville.
Yes, with members of the Black Crowes and Wilco and Sheryl Crow's band. All these, like, I was playing with Lisa. It was kind of her.
So you went on tour with Lisa Hannigan, who is one of the most famous female singer-songwriters in Ireland, and you were part of her band that went touring America or all over the world, right?
All over the world.
Did you feel that was I've tried to be on my own.
Absolutely.
I'm going to be a session musician.
Totally. And I've been doing fucking pub cover gigs, trying to release my own records. Like the Holy Shakers album was out around, had come out a year before I joined Lisa's band. And I was producing records, but, like, man, it was tough. A lot of parties in the house, and like sticking my hand down behind the couch to see fucking change. And that's the reality of it. When an offer like that came along, do you want to join one of the most talented songwriters, singers that have come out of Ireland in the last 20 years, and go and see the world and be given it, you know, the opening up slots on these American tours, or do you want to stay at home and sing fucking Brown Man Girl and Johnny Cash songs to people
who don't want to listen
crying
to real music,
Celtic Tiger tears?
But it was a good time to go.
Yeah, for sure, it was amazing.
I've been to Nashville many times, and I just love that strip with Bob Roberts, and it's actually I just, when I went there, I was so just fucking taken with the fact that I thanked my lucky stars I wasn't a musician, because
when you see the talent,
talent on that strip, and they're playing for tips, right?
Yeah, most of those guys are touring musicians that are They go
come
out
in
for
and out.
3 months. They'll be touring with Bob Seger or somebody,
Yeah.
and then they come home and then they've no work, so they just either stay at home with the kids or else they go out and. But like those guys will play 7 gigs a day. Come home.
So Nashville has this kind of 200-meter, 300-meter strip with about 30 bars, and you walk in, you don't have to pay any money, and there's just amazing killer talent. Like just Bob Roberts, the bar I talk about, has got a whole burger thing happening at the back, and there's a band in the front, and they go around with white plastic buckets to get the money.
And it's hokey as hell, like
and it's hokey, and it's very white.
Shit kicker, yeah,
It's very redneck. But you got to Nashville and then decided to record there, or when did you decide?
What happened was we were in Boston and we went to a Black Crowes gig, who I was a huge fan of.
Yeah.
Tomo, who played drums at Lisa, was great friends with Steve because he was in a band back in the 90s that were one of these jam bands that kind of went on tour with Grateful Dead and Black Crowes and all that stoner kind of Americana rock bands. He introduced me to the drummer of the band. We ended up hanging out, and as usual, I'd fucking charm him or whatever. And I genuinely was a huge fan. But I gave him his CD, the Holy Shakers one, and he literally rang me the next day and was like, when is the tour finished? And I said, 2 weeks. Where is finished? Nashville. And he said, this is perfect. He says, I've set up a band. We're going to make a record. I'm going to play drums on it, and come to Nashville.
Brilliant. So again, this is a...
Yeah, and that was a total fluke. And you know what? I'm really disappointed in how that album turned out. As a record, I'm really proud of it. But
were you a bit let down by the reception it got?
Yeah, I was. I'm just brutal at business for my own music. I'm great with other people's production, and I'm great at running the studio business. But with my own music, I'm just like I'm a fucking chimpanzee. I can't seem to.
But looking back at that album, are you personally good with it? I mean, I remember when you two brought out Rattle and Hum, they got castigated over that. And I think Time has shown that up to be a reasonably
Heartland is
great record.
Incredible song.
All I Want Is You, I think is
beautiful.
Amazing
song.
They have some beautiful stuff in there.
Angel of Harlem.
Yeah.
Which was recorded in
But
studios.
they got this kind of, maybe we can drift into this after we hear your next song. I'll give you a second to think about it.
Knock the bollocks out of you too.
Exactly. I want to talk about that and we'll start getting into the music business. Let's take another break and let's listen to Sparrow, and tell me about Sparrow from your new album.
Sparrow is about my daughter, and it's about having to break your bollocks to afford to have a child. It's all worth it.
This is Sparrow.
When my day is over
So that was Sparrow. The lovely Emmy May is one of the few young girls in the world whose father has written a song about her.
Yeah, it's such a cliche.
It's not a cliche. It's
I
beautiful.
don't know what it is. Every songwriter does it, but you know the thing is, when I'm gone, and no matter who hears my music, whatever, it's there for her. That is my, that's her legacy, really.
2015 was Sunday Songs, which was your fourth album, and you and Mundy have something in common here, I think, because your label went into liquidation just as you launched, which must have been a right pain in the balls.
Yeah. Well, you drop 4 or 5 grand on getting your CDs duplicated and your artwork, and then you find out that all the CDs that were shipped out to all the shops are gone.
What are they in limbo? Who owns them?
I don't know. They're gone anyway. I never got them back. I never got a red cent for any of the record sales. I was tied in with these guys digitally as well, and like Sunday Songs was #1 for like 2 or 3 weeks in the iTunes chart. I've never got one check from them, and I've asked. It's like, where's the money for that? And they're saying, no, it's not there. We were liquidated, and the money is gone. There's a couple of million.
So let's talk about it. This was 2015, but literally for most of this century, the music industry has collapsed and become something else. It's become a difficult.
It's a dog eating its own shit. Sorry.
No, that's all right. I mean, your album when it launched was, even though Minor Birds was you weren't happy with the reviews. This one was back to form according to the reviewers.
Oh no, the reviews were good
for Minor Birds.
But God, even that I have to say that, that's how insecure we are as fucking artists. But no, it was critically well received, but that's all it was. That was my first taste of like, you can get great reviews and all of that, and how meaningless it all is.
Yeah, doesn't lead to sales.
It doesn't translate to sales. It doesn't translate to your way of life changing in any way.
So Sunday Songs comes out. Goes into liquidation. I want to talk a little bit about the fuck up that is the music business. I mean, my first observation being outside it is, I mean, you've worked with, I don't know, my favourite musician of the last 5 years out of Ireland, which is Conor O'Brien, The Villagers. Yeah. You've worked with Lisa Hannigan. You've worked with Paul Brady, Jerry Fish, Mundy, even all the way back to when I was growing up, Hot House Flowers, We've had so many bands that nearly but quite didn't follow U2. I'm not talking about stratospheric U2, I'm talking about made it U2. Now part of that is the fact that the idea of the album has vanished through technology, but why do you think we haven't had bands, even yourself, properly break the scene?
Well, okay, if we look at the bands that have broken internationally, are the artists since U2 that I would call like million sellers.
Right.
We've got Damien Rice, Glenn Hansard. We've had bands like The Script and Coda Line.
Yeah. And the boy bands.
And the boy bands, yeah. I mean, we've exported a lot of boy bands. Like when you look at our currency, the back of it is a harp. It's what we're known for, fighting and music
and drinking. Yeah.
And drinking. I know, but it is a cliche.
We're doing all three tonight.
Let's talk about Dublin for a minute. And Bono called it the city of 1,000 rock bands. It should have been city of 10,000 rock bands. Now we have colleges like BIM set up for kids. There's the Ballyforma Rock College. The kids coming out of there, Sean, are like, man, they are just on fire. They can play their asses off. I've got the mics open and I'm recording them and listening to them talking and working at their range. They're talking phone numbers. I don't have the theory these kids have.
But it's, I mean,
so that's
we're just a brief segue on that because I was wondering when to slip this in, but you have morphed into what I call the mother hen to Ireland's up and coming musicians.
That's beautiful. Thank you. That's lovely. That's really makes my balls swell.
And well, but there's a certain amount of you that's just clearly observed the issues you had as a young musician, and you're trying to fill that God-shaped hole for people who are coming out now. Is that fair? Or? I mean, it's not a boast.
It's so complimentary.
It's not a boast.
It's hard enough.
That's what you're doing.
But yeah, it is. Like, it's funny how the name, and I was saying earlier on that the name Orphan just was pulled out of the air. Like I actually call that studio the Orphanage, and that's how I do feel. Like, I mean, I had Billy Bragg in there a couple of months ago, so I've had
big names
in there, and I've had. But when it's the young bands that come in, I just feel I'm giving their songs a home, and I'm giving them, if their hearts and their minds and their eyes and their ears are open, that I'm going to help them make their song better. Not for any ego for mine, from fucking.
But it seems like a whole
30 years of just like.
Windmill Lane made their name on the back of U2, but they became this big bloated ad agency kind of thing.
Yeah, now they're like
they've sort of shrunk back down.
They're college.
Yeah,
they're
shrunk
college.
back down again.
They're not a record studio. They're college.
That element of facilitating art is one of the areas that's been most neglected in Ireland.
Yeah.
Like, it's. Tell me about some of the bands you've been working with that you think are maybe will break this.
There's so many, Sean.
Well, give me
like
3 bands.
The Hot Sprockets.
The Hot Sprockets.
I've produced 2 records for those guys. Old time rock and roll, cartoon. I think the Monkees meet Kings and Leon, and the Eskies frontman. He's a mixture of Elvis and Shrek. So just think of like 68 Comeback Special meets the Ogre. And this band of badass pirate musicians. They have this kind of klezmer element to their music, which I've been trying to beat out of them, and they've resisted, and that's what I love about our relationship, that it's just push and pull.
Yeah.
But we just work great together, and they're just great musicians, an incredible songwriter and frontman, and just a good human being.
I mean, I got exposed to the Villagers about 5 years ago, and I remember going to a thing in the Workman's Club, and I just cried listening to this fella.
Conor
and I was going,
O'Brien,
what just happened?
You'll have to listen to me on this.
Yeah.
He is tapped into some ancient fucking magic.
Yeah, that's what I found.
And
it's come from somewhere else.
As a human being, he's just.
I remember
beautiful. I mean, how he perceives things, and I don't know. He just, whenever I'm around him, he just makes. I start thinking on a higher level.
Yeah, there was only about
like
100 people in the. It was a Today FM kind of. With the very cool, clearly the same videographer who did your piece in Whelan's.
Steve Mowgli, Miles O'Reilly.
Beautiful. And,
he's amazing.
But I had been away for so long, and I heard this guy, and I just was like, he's 20-something, and he was like an angel singing.
He was singing
like, all the men were crying. Yeah,
he was singing to you
my eyes
and
out.
nobody else. And he was singing to you about that time when nobody came to your birthday party.
Yeah. That's the Villagers. There's links to all these bands on the blurb of this podcast, which you can check out. Come back to me before we try and wrap it up about just the future, maybe that might be positive, and where you think the music industry may end up.
Sean, I don't know. I'm like, we're all running around like headless chickens. I go to bed every night, shit myself. Particularly in Dublin, it's like it feels like art is just being kind of. It's like in Star Wars, and the 2 walls start coming in on art, and it's just like all the metal and steel and concrete. The cost of living to be an artist, it's getting impossible, and the art is going to be compromised because the bands can't afford the studios because they can't afford to pay their fucking rent. So they're and the technology is just advanced so well, but they can't afford to pay their producers. They can't afford to pay musicians. They can't afford to get the CD duplication. And then you're questioning, well, should I make CDs? But the thing is, my beautiful dreamers, is that we've been painting on walls like when we were fucking hunting bison and running away from dinosaurs. So we're going to continue to make art. It's a human condition. And it's a calling, and once it's in your bloodstream, it's there. So it's going to happen. But in terms of a monetary thing for musicians and how it's going to go, it's going to change drastically, and it's going to bend and adapt, and it will survive. I don't know where the solution is.
It might be the biggest single thing that I'm pissed off about in the 21 years I was away from Dublin. But when I was growing up, we were a haven for artists. We gave most artists tax-free status. This kind of was removed to the point where even Bono, I think, moved his
Monte Carlo
wealth over to Holland or somewhere. Although U2 do pay shitloads of taxes here. And as you said earlier, it's very easy to bag U2. I'm a fan, and
I love U2.
Yeah, I think that there was some piece in The Guardian recently about why all Irish people hate U2, and I don't think that's true. I mean, they certainly can't pack out.
I get ragged on because people tell me I try to sing like Bono.
Yeah, you have a bit of a yeah, a couple of songs that you
Mister.
You say. Anyway, so we're now coming to. I don't know whether did we get an answer to what the
I don't
future
know.
of the music industry?
I actually went off one. It'll survive, but it's changing in a way. I mean, like, have you listened to the radio recently?
I tried to listen to as little as possible. Too many ads.
I mean, like, I thought about this. Like, I remember playing like, hard rock music with my dad, who was into Nana Muscuri and Willie Nelson, and just he would have been very like
Seekers.
George. Yeah, like just nice and
or
Saturday night.
And then the Christmas albums.
Yeah, Bing.
Yeah,
Bing Crosby. Yeah, like everybody is just saying. Like, did you read Fanning wrote a great thing about where music is at the moment? Dave Fanning is the Irish John Peel. But
what did he say?
He just said that like music is just fucked. He said like I've stepped away from writing about music and playing new music because like don't expect me to play bands like Picture This and the Coronas, all these new Irish acts and Code Line that are they're doing really well and they're starting to make waves outside of Ireland. But he just called it beige rock. There's nothing exciting.
But
everything is
irrespective of the type,
homogenized.
Yeah, but even the type of music, there was probably homogenization in the 80s, and there was
probably Stock Aitken and Waterman.
But the thing to me is that the reason a kid dreams of becoming a rock star is the fame and the glory. And
they don't dream of being a rock star anymore,
really?
Sean.
Okay.
They dream of being a YouTube star.
Yeah, so we've taken. No, I was going to finish. Back in the day, that was the. So you have an end goal that's lifting the Champions League trophy. If you want to be a footballer,
yeah, exactly.
You work hard, you do your gigs, you play for a shit football team in Ireland. Someone finds you do the same. Someone comes in, an A&R person, and you might get the big contract, and you might become the next U2. That's gone.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no. Even the kids you work with, they don't think they're going to become.
Oh no, they do.
Do they?
And you know what? The crazy thing is the ones with the least talent have the highest expectations and they're anyway.
You're a guy who I wanted to talk just about your actual music. Hey, we're finally here. My own amateur hour version of your music. A lot of things come through to me. Some of these songs are on your new album. The song 30 something struck Courtney is like a pain to the system, the corralling that we're driven towards. What can you do when your best's not good enough is a lyric from that song, which I feel you're kind of searching for the one, you're kind of searching for love. There's an optimism, there's a soft romance, there's a melancholy.
Security, all those things.
And there's also a big Dublin kind of thing. I mean, that's a sort of a... When I used to come back during the Celtic Tiger, just for holidays, I found that the one thing that was missing from my home city was this kind of melancholy struggle, and you can't begrudge anyone losing that, but what was replaced with it was greed and unpleasantness, and we were turning into
America.
like a Brit city, city. Like Birmingham or something, or Liverpool if it got
Birmingham.
All right, sign Liverpool people, but yeah, I mean those themes come through. I just love there's a huge looking back. And then there's almost an optimistic, good days will come.
Sentimental song.
Yeah, you're a big softie. Yeah.
That's the thing with music, though, has always been about like nostalgia for me. I remember the first time recognizing, like, when I heard Simon and Garfunkel, immediately being able to like emotionally connect with it from what it was like for my mom to be. Listen to that, and it's a weird thing I have. I've never been able to articulate or explain what it is, but I'm able to. She's not going to say it because I sound such a fucking wanker, but I'm actually able to emotionally connect music and memory in some weird.
So you're better able to imagine your mother listening to a tune than your mother telling you a story. Would that be fair? Or?
No, I'm better able to imagine how my mother was feeling. Just the song, like that, yeah, like it's. I'm able to connect with the emotion of a song and how people feel about it. And I'm drunk, Sean.
Yeah, it's fine. That's part of the idea.
Yeah.
Look, we've been here a long time. I want to ask you a final question, which is...
Who do you love more, your mommy or dad?
Nah, I'm not going to bother asking that. The you that was about to go to Maynooth, that ended up in insurance,
Yes.
what would you say, looking back, if you could go back and talk into his ear?
Your parents are very smart. They have sacrificed so much of their life to try and get you where you are now and kept you alive and done a great job. But it's time to be a man and it is time to listen to your heart. Allow yourself to have responsibility. Don't suffer fools and don't be overly romantic. Be level-headed, be fucking Bruce Lee, be Elvis, be Ted Danson in Cheers. Be smart. Listen to your heart.
Gavin Glass, thanks for being on A Pint with Seaniebee.
I rhymed at the end. Be smart. Listen, I'm a poet and I don't even know it.
Well, that was a great interview with Gavin Glass there, a good old friend of mine from Dublin, and I wish him every success with the new album Opus Pocus. To play us out on this Pint with Seaniebee, another track from that album called Bad Reputation. Have a look at the blurb for the podcast on how you can buy the new album, and I'll see you all next time.
This night's through. I don't care where you've been, just where you're going to. I've been up and down that dirty boulevard, hoping I might run into you, but I just ran into some old friends. They've nothing good to say about you. But why would they know? I've heard about your bad reputation. Your bad reputation, it's always following you. But it don't scare me. Take my hand, we'll fuck to the golden age. Both you and I know, baby, nothing will ever be the same again. So why don't you come out and see me tonight? So much I wanna say to you. Secondhand rumor, no little white lie will ever keep me away from you. No, they'll never keep me away from you. I guess you've heard about my